Let's be honest, this weekend wasn't fun, but also, let's be honest again, it probably doesn't really matter. The Dodgers dropped 3-4 to the Braves. Couple close games on Saturday and Sunday. We'll get into everything about the series, what it means, what it doesn't mean, what the Dodgers did, what the Dodgers didn't do, everything about it. And to top it off, on the good positive side, Walker Buehler pitched in a OKC Dodger game. So there's a lot to get into. So let's get locked on Dodgers.
You are Locked On Dodgers, your daily Los Angeles Dodgers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yo, Dodger fans. Welcome to Locked On Dodgers. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the number one local sports daily podcast network. Locked On, your team every day. This is the daily podcast covering the Los Angeles Dodgers, bringing you the smart fans perspective on our boys in blue every weekday morning. You can find us wherever you find podcasts and on YouTube by searching for Locked On Dodgers, which is where you can subscribe and get our episodes delivered to you every single weekday morning. We'll be there for you. If you are someone that listens every day, you are called an everydayer. If you are someone that doesn't listen every day, you are called a potential everydayer. So all you got to do is start listening every day. So go ahead and go do that. If this is your first time listener watching, you're going to want to become an everydayer. And my name is Vince Samperio, joined by my co-host, Jeff Snider. And we are both lifelong Dodger fans that have been around the team in a variety of capacities as a fan, as media. We've been in the press box, been in the locker room, been at Dodger Stadium, watched a lot of games on TV. We've been around the Dodgers a lot, and we think that gives us the chance to bring you an informed and smart fans perspective on our boys in blue. That's what we're going to try to do here today because the Dodgers lost 3-4 to the Braves. The Dodgers lost the first three games of the series. And, as you may imagine, there were a lot of takes bashing the Dodgers. And as you maybe could guess too, they weren't all by Braves fans. So, like I said, it wasn't fun. Like, let's just start off by saying it wasn't a fun weekend. It's not, blah, blah, blah. The Dodgers lost 3-4. It's not that's not a positive thing. But also, it really doesn't matter when it comes to October when the Dodgers get there.
Yeah, it's, that I do believe after watching this series, what I probably believe a little more, but I probably believed it already, that the Braves are probably a little bit better team than the Dodgers. I do think the gap between the Braves and the Dodgers isn't nearly as big as the gap between, say, the 2021 Dodgers and 2021 Braves was. And 2021 Braves won that series. And so, if there's one thing we as Dodger fans know, it's that the best team doesn't always win in October. And the Dodgers are a very, very good team. And, a couple things different here and there. The Dodgers could have split this series. I mean, if Mookie Betts' little chopper down the third baseline doesn't trickle foul, the Dodgers win game 3 of the series. Instead, Alex Vesia in the 10th inning. That when you have a game that goes 1-1 into extra innings, that by definition, that game could have gone either way. Another game that the Dodgers lost by 1 run, another game they won by 2 runs. It was a close series that they lost 3 out of the 4. And so, yeah, the Braves are probably a little bit better team. And if they face each other in October and both teams play the way they did in this series, yeah, the Braves probably will win the series. But that's a lot of ifs. And how many times have we seen, both for better and for worse, a good team not play the same in October that it did at the beginning of September?
Yeah, you want to say, oh my God, the Braves offense and everything else. The Braves offense scored 1 run through 9 innings on Saturday and scored 1 run through 9 innings on Sunday. So, obviously in the 10th inning, they got 3 runs off a big home run from the bottom of the order. But again, their lineup is good. Their lineup is deep. Their lineup hits a lot of home runs, which is one thing that might mean something in the future, especially when it comes down to Dodgers pitching, starting pitching specifically, and kind of what they have. We saw Lance Lynn, he said he didn't have it, but he gave up some home runs on Friday night. Julio didn't have it again, didn't look good. He didn't look good. He didn't look terrible, but he didn't look good. But then we saw, Emmett Sheehan throw 3 ball counts to every batter, but he only allowed 1 run and threw 4 innings, and probably could have gone 1 more inning and might have been okay. And then we saw Bobby Miller, breeze through essentially. I think the home run he gave it to Matt Olson there in the 7th inning, I think that was Olson's first or second hit of the entire series. So, they did a good job of neutralizing him. So all that being said, Jeff, starting pitching wise, I think there's something to see. Like, okay, the Braves do hit a lot of home runs. The Dodgers have, Lance Lynn and Clayton Kershaw. They don't give up a lot of runs. Well, as Dodgers so far, Lance Lynn hasn't. But when they do, it does come via the home run. So maybe that's a little bit of an issue.
Yeah, it can be concerning, and Julio is so hit and miss. Who knows how he would pitch against them in the postseason? But yeah, it does seem like the more power type pitchers had a little bit more success against the Braves. I think, as far as I'm remembering, other than the 3-run homer Vesia gave up, I think the Braves only scored one other run off the Dodgers bullpen this weekend. And so that's all I can remember anyway, because Lance Lynn, and that one was even unearned, right? That was the
month here.
And so, 4 runs off the bullpen, 2 of them unearned, and one of them just a terrible pitch from Alex Vesia. Overall, though, I mean, in some ways, there's definitely reasons to be optimistic about if they face each other. There's probably some things the Dodgers learned. I do think, Bobby Miller's game on Sunday was just awesome. And last time he pitched, we talked about how it probably wasn't the best decision for that particular game to have Miller come back out for the 7th, but that it probably was the best decision for Bobby Miller's future and for the Dodgers' future, as with Bobby Miller as an ace. And I honestly believe this game we saw on Sunday was I think he was significantly better than he would have been without the way Dave Roberts is treated. I think there's been twice that Roberts has let him come out for the 7th and it backfired. Well, this time came out for the 7th and he did give up a solo homer, but he got it through the inning. Next time he comes out for the 7th, he'll probably get through it. Like, the only way to learn how to pitch in the big leagues is by pitching in the big leagues. And that includes failing in the big leagues sometimes. And I think Dave Roberts has done a pretty masterful job of managing Bobby Miller so far this season and helping him develop to the point where right now, like, based on what we've seen so far, and obviously a lot more can happen in the last few weeks of the season, but based on what we've seen right now, I don't think many Dodger fans would be upset if Bobby Miller was named the playoff number 1 starter.
The stuff plays. Like, I talked to a lot of people over the weekend, and people that maybe didn't want to talk to, but they were texting me about the games or whatever. And yeah, like, velocity plays up in October, and it's not always going to be work out. Walker Buehler gave up a grand slam in his first playoff start, first playoff start against the Braves against Ronald
Acuna.
So, like, it's not always going to work out, but you have that margin for error in the postseason. If Bobby Miller, I would start Austin Barnes in Bobby Miller's first playoff game, just because that first pitch is going to break the catcher's hand, probably, because he's going to be so amped up. And then you get Will Smith in there after, because the stuff will play up. He's looked really good. You don't want to get too excited, but I get the same feeling. And obviously it's easy to compare because just, the general nature of how they, pitch and everything else. But like Walker Buehler, I've never been worried about him pitching a playoff game. And I feel like Bobby Miller, the first game, like, I won't be worried. He does worry me a little bit more just because when things go bad, they seem to snowball a little bit. But if they don't go bad, he's usually cruising besides that. So,
yeah. To be fair, Austin Barnes has a 7-game hitting streak. So maybe call up Tucker Barnhart, who they just signed to a minor league contract, let him start. And then, then replace him with Austin Barnes. Yeah.
All right, there's more to talk about. The bullpen, some of the decisions made by Dave Roberts, the offense, which is always a scary thing. So that's what we're going to get into. So make sure to keep it locked on Dodgers. Today's episode is brought to you by Neutrophil. Neutrophil is the #1 dermatologist-recommended hair growth supplement that's clinically shown to improve your hair growth, visible thickness, and visible scalp coverage. If you have weakened or thinning hair, Neutrophil is there for you. Their hair growth supplements use physician-formulated, natural, science-backed ingredients. Their drug-free, patented technology provides consistent, reliable results without compromising your sexual health. So go to Neutrophil.com/men and take their hair health wellness quiz and identify the causes of your thinning hair. And then you'll get a personalized plan from Neutrophil for better hair health through whole body wellness. So you're not just helping your hair, you're not just helping the way you look, you're also helping the way you feel and the way you look, beside your hair. So go check out Neutrophil. It supports healthy hair growth from within by targeting root causes of thinning, such as stress hormones, nutrition, lifestyle, and metabolism. Take the first step to visibly thicker, healthier hair. For a limited time, Neutrophil is offering Locked On Dodgers listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrifol.com/men and enter the promo code Locked On MLB. Find out why over 4,000 healthcare professionals recommend Nutrifol for healthier hair. Nutrifol.com/men. That's Nutrafol.com/men. Promo code Locked On MLB. Thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen of the day every day. Make sure to listen every day and become an everydayer. You can find us wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube. And if you can't watch, we got some early games this week, 3:30 games. If you're still stuck at work or stuck in traffic, SiriusXM or the SXM app can help you out. The home broadcast for every Dodger game is there. All you got to do is search for Dodgers. All right, Jeff. So there was some decisions made this weekend, and this is another reason why, I'm very much in the corner of I don't care really what happened this weekend. It's not going to matter in October. Last year, the Dodgers were 14-5 against the Padres, or maybe even better than that. Lost in October. The Dodgers have been better than teams in the regular season and lost to them. The Dodgers have been worse than teams in the regular season and beat them. That happens every single year with a bunch of different teams. But also, some of the decisions Dave Roberts made are not decisions that would have been made in the playoff, or at least you would hope not. You would hope not. So, one of those is the Vesia game on Saturday. I don't think Alex Vesia gets left in for. He might come in the next inning if he got the one out in the bottom of the ninth, then comes out for the 10th. But I don't think he would have been left in to face right-handed hitters or right-handed hitters that maybe have good split. Whatever the case, I don't think he would have been in that spot if it was a playoff game, unless they had nobody left.
Yeah, and that have nobody left is the big question. And that's why I think it would be different in the playoffs, because there's days off. You never play more than 3 days in a row in the playoffs. And so, I mean, the Brandon Morrow approach in 2017, like he pitched every single day and eventually backfired, but that's what they can do. And so right now in September, you're still worried about usage and everything. And so you're not going to use somebody who you just used the day before or whatever, especially in, so many things that will be different in the playoffs because of the days off. And the bullpen will be a big one because everybody will be available more often because they know in somewhere between 3 days and 3 weeks from now, I get the winter off. And so you can power through that. I did notice, and this is kind of a tangent, Evan Phillips was pumping 99 on Saturday.
He did. I think technically 98.7, but hey, that's 99 in the books.
For a guy who sits usually 96, maybe 97, pumping almost 99 and repeatedly like that. I think that extra rest is doing Evbo some good. I love that dude. Yeah. And so, that Alex Vesia will not face Orlando Arcia in a tie game in extra innings in the postseason. Write it down. I will eat my shoe if Alex Vesia faces any right-handed power hitter in the postseason in a tie game.
Yeah, especially that situation, coming off a 4-pitch walk, like a lot of things happen. And, there's also a world where Alex Vesia is not on the playoff roster. I mean, I guess it would depend on the team. Like if there's a team that has a lot of lefties, then maybe like a lot of lefties that aren't platoon guys that play, possibly. But I mean, with the arms that have been, Sheehan came up and pitched very well. Ryan Pepio's been pitching very well. You got Walker Buehler, who we'll talk about in a little bit, started his rehab. If somehow he makes Michael Gross supposed to come back next week, we'll talk about it in a little bit. Like there's a lot of guys that might come back and, push other guys off the roster. And Vesia would be that guy. Other than him throwing left-handed, he's near the bottom, or if not at the bottom of the totem pole for relievers right now. So yeah, there was decisions that were made. And like I said, it happened. Dave Roberts is not going to pull Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman in a 6-run game in the playoffs. especially considering, shout out Colton Wong, by the way. Dodgers added him to the 40-man roster. In his first at bat, he hit a 3-run home run that made the game a lot closer than it could have been, or should have been, maybe for the Brave side, thanks to Ozzy Albies making an error. So, things happen, but that's not going to happen. Like, there's a lot of things that happen that aren't going to happen. And, it's just a matter of that's how it goes. But I guess the one thing, and this is not directly based on this weekend, this is just based on me in general, but it was highlighted a little bit this weekend. The Dodger offense, they also didn't score many, they had no runs up until that Colton Wong home run on Friday. They had 1 run through 9 innings, or through 10 innings, ended up on Saturday. And, they did score 3 runs, and the 3 runs were earned well. And one of them was a insurance run when they did need it. But again, they only did score 3 runs on Sunday. So, like, the offense is one of those things that worries me, but would be with any series, not just this series.
Yeah, if there's one thing we know about Vince Samperio, it's that he worries about the offense in October. And yeah, I mean, it was basically a replay of that Padres series last year. Oh, Dodgers can't get hits with runners in scoring position. And some credit goes to the Braves pitchers for sure. I mean, Max Fried's a very good pitcher. Spencer Strider's a very good pitcher. Charlie Morton is a good pitcher. Probably wouldn't put very on him. And Bryce Elder has good success sometimes.
Home plate umpire is also a good pitcher.
Oh my gosh. Don't even do that to me.
Not an excuse of the series, but there was some very key moments. Yeah. One of them when Mookie Betts having bases loaded and the ball was not close. But
all right, let's tangent umpires real quick. This won't be an umpire rant, but what was up with instant replay on Sunday? Like, there were 3 replays in the first 2 innings, and they got 2 of them wrong. And I understand, like, I've said so many times, the whole clear and convincing thing, it's a stupid rule because and I think what we saw on Sunday is it's inconsistently applied because it depends on who the umpires are in New York, because both of those plays, you would easily say, okay, I am 93% sure that this call should be overturned. And 93%.
The umpire was asleep on the pickoff at first, but he was there late. So he made that call in bad position. So, like, why would you use that call as the,
Yeah, and the only thing on that one is you can see, okay, Hayward, either his hand is on the base or, a millimeter above the base. And I think that's what they said. Well, we can't tell for sure that you can't slide a piece of paper between the base and his fingers. So the call's got to stand. For me, 95% sure should be enough to say, okay, we're going to overturn that, because nobody would know. Like, nobody else could slide a piece of paper there either. No, everybody who watches that would say, his hand beat the throwback. Nobody's going to say, but I can't tell for sure that his fingers were touching the base. It was terrible. And in general, I'm in favor of replay. And most of the time when people are arguing about the calls, I can see, okay, well, that is inconclusive. It's only 60%, and somewhere they got to draw the line. That line's got to be a lot less than 95% though. Going back to your Alex Vesia point though, I'm just looking at the Dodgers roster, and especially we're going to talk about Walker Buehler in the next segment, but especially if Buehler comes back, like, depending on who else comes back, your Yancy Almonte, Joe Kelly, Jimmy Nelson, who we're probably going to talk about too. Some of those guys, like, I wouldn't be surprised if the Dodgers go with no left-handed relievers other than Ryan Yarbrough in the playoffs. And definitely not more than one. And, is it Caleb Ferguson? Is it Alex Vesia? Is it Victor Gonzalez? It's those 3 guys battling for at most one spot. And so, yeah, at this point, it's not quite shoe eating territory, but if I had to place money on something, I'd say the good money is on Vesia not being on the postseason roster.
Yeah. And like I said, there's a lot of questions, obviously, and there's still a whole month to play. But as of right now, if people come back, I don't see him on there. And I don't think there's any team that's lefty heavy that they would potentially play anyways.
And with the 3 batter minimum, like, lefty reliever isn't, like, get relievers who can get guys out. Evan Phillips, you trust him against righties and lefties. Ryan Brazier has been great against righties and lefties. You've got these guys. Just Brusdar Graterol, for as infuriating as it is that he doesn't get strikeouts, he gets weak contact no matter what side of the plate the guy's batting from. He's got tools. And so, I don't think lefty relievers are that big a deal anymore. It's guys who can get guys out. And for basically all the Dodgers lefty relievers have pretty severe platoon splits, which means they're not a guy. It's like, okay, the only time you think about using them is if there's 2 outs and a lefty coming up and you just need to get out of the inning, but then you're running the big risk of if he doesn't get that lefty out.
Yeah. Speaking of a lot of people that are maybe coming back, let's talk a lot about them. That's what's coming up. So make sure to keep it locked on Dodgers. Today's episode is brought to you by Sleeper. The Sleeper app is there for you. MLB playoffs are around the corner, and the clock is ticking on your chance to win 100 times your cash on daily fantasy baseball. Baseball MVP race is exciting. We saw some of it this weekend with Acuna and Betts. Tani's still doing his thing, and for as long as they know with the Angels, there's a lot of fun young talent up right now. There's a lot of stuff. And how do you make the game more fun to watch? Well, you can play some daily fantasy baseball. You can pick some stats, home runs, hits, strikeouts, and you can pick more or less on those stats for some of these players, Mookie, Acuna, Betts, Freddie Freeman, whoever. And the more you win, the more picks you get right, the more you win. And you can get up to 100-time payout on Sleeper. So go check out the Sleeper app right now. There is a lot of things to be good or happy about. Like I said, there's the winning the money. There's group and team chat functionality in the app. It's very quick to use. If the game starts in 5 minutes, you can do your picks within those 5 minutes. So right now, go download the Sleeper app, and after you do that, use the promo code Locked On, and you'll get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. So you put in $100, you get an extra $100 to put into your account and make these picks. And remember, you can win 100 times your money. So there's a lot of hundreds in there. So terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms are used for details. And go get Sleeper app. Use promo code Locked On right now. Remember to find Locked On Dodgers wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube, and listen every day to become a part of the Everydayers. And remember, SiriusXM or the SXM app can be used to listen to the home broadcast for any Dodger game. All you got to do is open SiriusXM or the SXM app and search Dodgers. All right, Jeff. So there's a few guys that are maybe coming back soon that have been pitching well KC, but there's one guy who did come back this weekend and got right back into the mix and right back into the thick of things. That's Shelby Miller. He was activated for this series, and he ended up pitching 3 out of 4 games in this series. He did not allow a run. He struck out a couple and only gave up 1 hit, and that was on Sunday. He gave up double, I think, or
double to Harris, yeah.
So, that's a big addition who had a big impact already first weekend back.
Yeah, and because of that double to Harris, he then faced Ronald Acuna with the tying run in scoring position and 2 outs in the top of the 9th inning. It's a pretty darn big spot to be thrown back into, and obviously they didn't intend for him to be at that spot. They put him in against the 7, 8, 9 hitters, but you also go into that knowing, well, there's a chance that somebody gets on base and he has to face Acuna, and they seemed comfortable with that, and he showed why, because he's a good pitcher. Like Shelby Miller, when he's been healthy this year, I feel like he had a little bit of a slow start to the season, but then he got things right, and he's just been a huge pickup. Really, the only gripe about it is that he hasn't been healthy very much. But if he can stay healthy for the next 2 months, he could be a huge part of that Dodgers bullpen in October.
And so underrated that I feel like we hadn't really talked about him on the show. And all of a sudden, of all these, we talk about Joe Kelly, we talk about Walker Buehler, we talk about all these other guys, and then all of a sudden Shelby Miller is back and pitching 3 out of 4 of the weekend. So big addition, good add to the Dodger bullpen. A couple other potential additions to the Dodger bullpen that might be coming. Michael Grove, not Joe Davis. Dave Roberts said that Michael Grove might be back with the Dodgers next weekend. That's another potential arm for them to see. And one guy who not quite sure how it's going to play out, but he's looked really good lately, is Jimmy Nelson. He's now had 7 scoreless outings in a row for the OKC Dodgers, 12 strikeouts in those 7 outings. He hasn't not issued a walk in 4 of those outings. His fastball has been mid-90s. Sliders had the break that it usually has. So, Jeff, Jimmy Nelson, are we going to once again believe in the right arm of Jimmy Nelson?
The thing about Jimmy Nelson is you can't count on him for more than about a month at a time. Well, we need a month this year. Get healthy, Jimmy. Come back in time, the last week of the regular season or whatever. I guess if he's already on rehab, they'd have to bring him back a little bit sooner than that. But yeah, I mean, don't need him to be healthy for too long. And he's shown when he is healthy, he's really good too. By the way, on Shelby Miller, I misspoke. I had my memory wrong. He was actually really good at the start. 12 of his first 13 appearances were scoreless. And then he had a rough patch where from May 9th to May 21st, 7 innings, 5 earned runs in 5 games. So, but yeah, Jimmy Nelson could definitely be a part of this. And like you said, we don't really know what his stuff has looked like. We're not getting detailed reports really. And so I'm not going to get too excited about Jimmy Nelson, especially because even without Jimmy Nelson, when I'm looking at this roster, it's like they're already going to have a hard time figuring out which 13 guys to carry on the roster. A lot is going to come down to how many starters do we want in our bullpen, who can pitch multiple innings. What's Ryan Pepio's role going to be? All those different things. Is Gavin Stone going to have a role? And so Jimmy Nelson might not be a factor at all. We might in October forget that we were even talking about Jimmy Nelson as a possibility in early September, but right now he's definitely a possibility and an intriguing one for sure.
Yeah, 2 guys that won't be possibilities, at least, the way Dave Roberts has kind of been picturing it or painting it. I just blanked on the names. Blake Training and somebody else.
Daniel Hudson?
Daniel Hudson, yes. Those guys probably aren't going to be back. Blake Training's had some soreness and hasn't really been able to bounce back after appearances. And Daniel Hudson's had soreness in his knee, so I'm not likely to come back. But all that is a transition to Walker Buehler, unless you have anything to say on those 2 guys.
No, it's a bummer for both of them because this might be it for both of them in their careers.
Yeah. But Walker Buehler did pitch on the mound on Sunday. He did go the 2 innings. They said 1 or 2 innings. He ended up going the 2 innings, 24 pitches, couple strikeouts. I haven't seen any velo readings, but I'm sure they're out there.
He was up almost to 96. He was mostly 94, 95, but actually touched, right. I think it was 95.8 or something. So pretty darn good for the first rehab start.
Encouraging for sure. Dave Roberts said, I think we talked about this the other day, but they're planning to build him up as a starter. He's going to get at least 3 rehab appearances and then see where they're at from there. A month is enough to get ready in spring training. So a month is what he has now from now until the end of the regular season. So in theory, it's looking a little bit different than maybe we thought last week or 2 weeks ago when it's like, man, I don't know if Walker's going to end up making it back. Maybe this is more of a him thing than a Dodger thing. But, the 2 innings look good. I know I saw someone had a side-by-side. His delivery looked a little quicker, a little different. Not sure if that's something for him with the way his arm feels, with the way he wants to throw. It wouldn't be a pitch clock thing because once you start your delivery, it doesn't really matter. So, but interesting nonetheless. He does have that weekly show with Just Baseball, and I saw they said they're going to ask him about it, so we'll see what he says.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see, especially, we made a big point about there's not a lot of things we need to just disregard from this Braves series. But if the Dodgers do start thinking about a specific type of pitcher they don't want pitching against the Braves in the postseason, maybe Buehler is a guy who they think about, making, even if he can only go 4 or 5 innings, starting against the Braves because he is more of that Bobby Miller, Emmett Sheehan type pitcher than a Julio or a Lance Lynn type of pitcher. And so, we'll see what happens, and definitely don't want to jump the gun on that. But Buehler has enough experience and, grit or whatever you want to call it, that I think if he's physically ready, I don't think they're going to be worried too much about him mentally.
Yeah, definitely not mentally. So, all right, that's all. Remember, if you have a comment about, the Dodgers, they're going to lose in October because of this. The Dodgers might lose in October because of this or because of a bunch of other things. There's a bunch of reasons.
Or they might win.
Yeah, exactly. It won't be because of this series. So, definitely won't be because of that. So, that's going to do it for today's episode. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen of the day. Make sure to become an everydayer by listening every day. Make sure to tell your friends and family and tell them to listen every day. And you guys can all be everydayers together. And you can talk about the Dodgers and be like, oh, someone might be like, oh, what are you guys talking about? Oh, we're talking about the Dodgers. We're everydayers. So go check that out. SiriusXM, SXM app, search Dodgers. You get the home broadcast for any Dodger game if you want to listen and can't watch. You can find us on social media, Twitter and Instagram at Locked On Dodgers. Jeff is on Twitter at Snider. I'm at Vincents91. You can DM Jeff or I if you have any questions, comments, or concerns. You can also direct those via email. LockedOnDodgers@gmail.com, or via voicemail text at 323-863-5625. We are here every weekday morning, and we hope you'll be here with us. When you get in your car, if you're at home, tell your smart device play podcast, Locked On Dodgers. And remember, you don't have to agree. You just have to listen. Have a good one.
We'll talk to you tomorrow.